Hello, my name is Olivier Klein. I would like to first start by thanking the organizer for giving me the opportunity to present our work entitled Coherent Long-Range Coupling Between Spin Bichiral Phonons. So this is a collective work, first done in SpinTech and also with our collaborator in Brest at Lapstick, Jamal Ben Youssef, who's been the provider of the material, who's been the key of this work. And also our colleague theoreticians, Gerrit Bauer at Tokyo University and Andrei Slavin and Vasil Tiberkevich at Auckland University. So let me start with the motivation of our work. So in a conventional spin valve structure, a non-magnetic metal spacer is used to transfer spin polarized electrons at Fermi energy from ferromagnet 1 to ferromagnet 2. And that affects the magnetization state of ferromagnet 2. But the short spin diffusion length of electron is the limiting factor that decides the thickness of this non-magnetic spacer. So the question that we want to address in this talk is, can we do spin transfer using dielectric spacers? What I mean is non-magnetic dielectric spacer. And I will show you that the answer is yes if we use circularly polarized acoustic phonons. And to do that, we need good interconversion efficiency between spin and phonon. Also, the acoustic damping of the non-magnetic insulating spacer should be low enough to ensure long-range transport. In this talk, I will show you that garnets are a perfect platform for this phononic spin valve structure, which is based on purely insulator. So magnons can interact with other possible degrees of freedom to exchange energy. So for example, magnetostatic modes hybridize with whispering gallery optical modes. In spin cavitronics, it has been shown that magnon can couple very strongly with the cavity mode, as demonstrated here by the anti-crossing with the Kittel mode. Using the inverse spinol effect, magnon current can be converted to charge current. In multiferroic materials, for example, it has been shown that an electric field can control the magnon as well. Or, using the magnetoelastic coupling, it has been shown a long time ago, this is an example in the 60s, that by exciting the ferromagnetic resonance, acoustic power could be emitted, as shown here by the decoration of the FMR absorption. I will come back to that later. What we want to focus in this talk is the magnon-phonon interconversion. The figure of merit of this interconversion is the cooperativity, which depends on the coupling strength and the relaxation rate of magnon and phonon. And what I will show you that garnets are a very promising platform to study magnon-phonon coupling, not because actually the magnetoelastic coupling strength is particularly big, but mostly because the relaxation rates inside these materials, both magnons and acoustic, are extremely low, which leads to a cooperativity that is above 1, which is the signature of being in the strong coupling regime. So, one important ingredient, as I've shown earlier, is this acoustic damping. And I want to start by showing you old experiment done in the 70s at Bell Lab on delay lines. Here you have a 10 mm long rod of yttrium iron garnet, that is called YIG, that is excited on one end by ferromagnetic resonance. And what is measured here is the acoustic echo signal. And what you can show here in this panel is that surprisingly, this echo signal survives for a very long time. And one can only see the decays after 200 microseconds. So what it shows is that the Q factor, the quality factor of acoustic wave in YIG can be very large. It is actually 10 times larger than the best quartz. So let's go back to the magnon-phonon interconversion. And one question is, what is the physical mechanism behind? So I will start with a paper published by Einstein de Haas a long time ago, almost 100 years ago, that studied the relationship between angular momentum and magnetization. And what they show is when a magnetic field is applied to a spin system, and when the spin system aligns, it induces a change of angular momentum, shown here by a rotation of the whole sample. And the conversion coefficient is given by the gyromagnetic ratio. But because of angular momentum conservation, when you do this kind of whole body rotation, there should be also a localized shear wave rotation associated. So it can be considered that this whole body rotation corresponds actually to phonon orbital angular momentum, while the localized shear wave rotation corresponds to phonon spin angular momentum. And what we are going to discuss in this talk, okay, is all about phonon spin angular momentum. So this little movie is going to show you intuitively how magnon-phonon coupling is established in materials with magnetocrystalline anisotropy. So when there is a spin oscillation, there is always associated to that a lattice vibration. So as I've said before, the manifestation of acoustic phonon has already been observed in several FMR experiments. So I would like to concentrate first on this experiment done on Higgs thin film, where one can see that the broad ferromagnetic resonance peak is actually decorated by tiny sharp peaks, which are regularly positioned in the frequency domain. They are periodic in the frequency domain. And sometimes these peaks become deep, or they have a dispersion shape-like form. And these peaks, okay, or this periodic feature should be associated to acoustic resonance across the whole crystal thickness. This is actually an interesting experiment done this time on the Higgs sphere, where the acoustic mode is a deformation mode of the sphere. Okay, in the spectroscopy, okay, when you increase the magnetic field, you see a broad peak that shifts in position in frequency according to the gyromagnetic ratio. But what you can see that there is a sharp feature always located at the same frequency position, and this sharp feature should be associated to an acoustic resonance. And you can see that this sharp feature can either be a peak or a dip, depending on the position, or it could have this dispersion relation shape, as you can see here, which is also called a Fano resonance. So here we want to introduce a simple phenomenological model that can capture some of the observation in previous experiments. So we start with two-couple equation of motion, where the magnon amplitude is driven by the magnetoelastic coupling plus the inductive coupling to an external microwave antenna. And circularly polarized phonons are excited due to this magnon-phonon coupling. Analytically, we can solve this two-couple equation of motion to find the hybridized eigenstate. And one can also calculate the absorption spectrum, introducing a relaxation rate for the magnon and acoustic phonon, and this is a 3D representation as a function of field and frequency. So the blue line represents the measurement along the ferromagnetic resonance, okay, and what you see is that a dip appears when the Kittel mode intercepts an acoustic resonance. Away from this magnetic resonance, the line shape distortion has a dispersive like, and it represents actually a Fano resonance. And very far away, it becomes a peak, which mostly captures the acoustic character, but seen through the spin system. And already you can see that this simple analytical model captures most of the features that were observed in the previous experiment. So what about the coupling strength? So it is given by this overlap integral between the phonon and magnon wave function, and it is calculated to be like this. Here the cosine term is quite important. When it is -1, omega becomes maximum, while when it is 1, omega is 0. So here is a plot showing omega as a function of a Higgs thickness and frequency. And the green line is the case where omega is -1 and the overlap integral is maximum. And what it corresponds is when half of the acoustic wavelength is the same as the Higgs thickness, as shown, for example, in this illustration. So the overlap integral between the Kittel mode and acoustic mode is maximized in this case. So we will give you an example where we use a 200 nanometer thick Higgs, and we will be working at 5 gigahertz, and in this case, the coupling strength expected is about 1 megahertz. So we first present our experimental setup. So we use a microstrip line cavity with a quality factor of about 35 and the resonance frequency of 5 gigahertz. The sample is placed at the middle of the bow tie, and we measure through a setup the reflected microwave power. magnetic field is applied, in this case, out of plane, in the normal direction. The antenna excites the Higgs layer, and due to the magnetoelastic coupling, this creates shear wave rotation of the crystal, which can be viewed as circularly polarized phonons. So in spectroscopy, we usually do field and frequency sweep. Here is the result when we do very fine steps. The blue line represents the Kittel resonance, okay, and the slope is the geometric ratio in this case. So in addition to that, what we see is that there is, in the frequency domain, periodic horizontal line intercepting the Kittel resonance. They are exactly separated by 3.5 MHz. So these are due to the excitation of circular polarized acoustic phonons, and because of boundary conditions given by the geometry of our sample, only standing acoustic wave can be excited. Alors, more specifically, that means that half a wavelength times an integer should fit the total thickness of a crystal, which give the following frequency spacing, okay, through this formula, and this is very close to the measure value. Okay, we can also calculate the cooperativity with the coupling strength and relaxation rate, measuring here the anti-crossing, and we get a cooperativity of about 6, which is very good. Here we look more closely at the spectrum. Okay, so if we take a look at what's going on along the blue line, we can see nice dips at every phonon frequency. These dips are due to the magnon-phonon coupling, and they increase also the line width, and this creates a decrease of the amplitude. If we go away from the Kittel element, it becomes dispersive or Fano resonance. Far away from it, it becomes a peak as expected from the theory. And from this peak, we can because this peak is exactly, again, the acoustic character, we can extract from the line width of this peak the acoustic phonon decay length, which is about 1.6 millimeter decay distance, okay, which is much bigger than the sample thickness. So now we want to establish an indirect coupling between two distance microspin using the circularly polarized acoustic phonon. So if you want to make a direct coupling between them, they should be very close or very nearby, because the exchange or dipolar field are very short decay. But for non-mediated coupling is limited by the decay length, which is in the centimeter range. Also, particularly to our system, there are two types of phonon. We have odd phonons, which means that the phase at the bottom is opposite at the phase at the top layer, as you can see here. For even phonons, the phase at the top and bottom layer are the same. Mathematically, what we can say is that for odd phonons, we have a coupling strength of the bottom layer that is opposite to the coupling strength of the top layer, while for even phonons, they have the same sign, the same polarity. So our two oscillator model now can be extended to a three oscillator model by just adding one new line, okay, where the magnetic layer is driven by the phonon-magnon coupling with its phase also set by the antenna. Okay, so we have added this line. So what do we expect now? The odd phonon drives the top layer with opposite phase to the antenna, as shown here. Therefore, they are competing and the power absorption is reduced. This is because, if you want, M2 is lagging in phase by 90 degrees compared to the acoustic field. However, for even phonon, the antenna and both the phonon and the microwave field drives the top level and therefore are in phase, and therefore the signal increases. Okay, and this can be shown here by an increase of power absorption in one case and a decreased power absorption in the other case. And what you can see is that here you can see that for even phonon the signal intensity is larger than for odd phonon, and this is kind of interference experiment. Now experimentally we can verify this. We sweep here the magnetic field and then overlay the sweep at many different frequencies in this plot. So due to the gyromagnetic ratio, the spectrum shifts slightly, and the shift is different when there is a magnon-phonon coupling, and this creates this dark line. So the even phonon gives stronger intensity, okay, as expected when it's even well, when it's odd. And this increased contrast, okay, shift sign when you cross the FM line due to the 180 phase shift that you get by crossing the resonance, okay? And you get the opposite, where the phonon intensity becomes bigger on odd phonons on the left side of the resonance than for odd phonons. And this can be seen here in this case, where the intensity, well, here you add constructive interference, here you have destructive interference, while here you have destructive interference, here you have constructive interference. This can be shown also experimentally by following the intensity at the maximum of the Kittel mode 1 or at the maximum of the Kittel mode 2, and what you can see is this double modulation. And you can see this contrast appearing between odd and even phonons that is typical of an interference effect. So you can see this interference also in the frequency domain. Here YIG2 is on the left of YIG1. If we remove the broad background FMR, we can see the acoustic character better in this plot. So near YIG2, even phonons gives larger absorption and less intensity for odd phonons, okay? And you get this double frequency of 7 MHz, so the odd phonons have almost disappeared in the vicinity of YIG2. This contrast inverts when you go on the other side of Kittel 2, okay, and it's now odd phonons that have constructive interference, and while even phonons are destructive, okay. So this indicates that YIG2 reflects the microwave power rather than absorb. And through this observation of interference, we can clearly show that spin transfer occurs coherently via circularly polarized phonon over this very thick YIG-GGG substrate. So now, can we go further? So far, we had two YIG layers that are different in resonance frequency due to a slightly different nominal character. So, if we can introduce a third parameter which can detune Kittel 1 and Kittel 2, we can, at a certain point, arrive to the triple crossing point of the three resonance. So basically, we want to tune Kittel 1 and Kittel 2 to be degenerate with an acoustic resonance. And now, what do we expect? Here is the calculated power absorption by YIG2, and what we can see is overall, the power absorption increase at the zero detuning on even phonon, while it completely disappears at the zero detuning with even phonon. If you look at the line cut, okay, what you see is that the maximum now, before the maximum was located between phonon lines, and here at the triple tuning, the maximum is located at the phonon lines. So to understand better, we look at some analytical expression. We can think of our system as a couple pendulum. For simplicity, we first consider the case of two pendulums. The Hamiltonian look like this, and we can easily obtain an analytical expression for the eigenfrequencies. So at the anti-crossing, there is a gap that appears of strength omega, which is the off-diagonal element of your Hamiltonian. The top branch is out of phase couple mode like this, and the lower branch is in phase mode. You can expand the system to three pendulum. The Hamiltonian is a little bit more complicated, and we introduce now the possibility of having the off-diagonal element being positive or negative by introducing a phase phi here that can be 0 or pi, depending if the mode is even or odd. Okay, so you can look at the splitting now. So there is it's a three-level system. And at the triple crossing point, what is interesting to see is that the middle mode M1 and M2 are out of phase in the case of even mode. And for the odd mode, actually, it's the opposite, okay? And the power spectrum look like this, and you can calculate that in the case of even mode, you have a dark state, so you have no absorption, while for the odd mode, it becomes a bright state due to the fact that the magnetization rotates in phase. So how do we see this experimentally? To do that, we need a way to detect the top layer dynamics Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to put on the top layer a 7 nanometer platinum stripe, and we are going to use the inverse spinel effect to detect the spin pumping signal. Okay, and this will give us an idea of the power dissipated in the top layer. We can still detect the bottom layer dynamics with the microwave antenna. And what you can see here is the diode absorption, where you see two peaks, the main peak being the dynamic signal of a layer closely in vicinity with the microwave antenna, therefore the bottom layer, and a small peak due to the top layer. And while if you look at the absorption of the VEC, you clearly see the top layer system. So what we can do now in this system is we can either change the magnetic field orientation to make them cross, or we can apply a current to the platinum to induce Joule-heating, which decreases the temperature. So for angle sweep, we see that the resonance positions follow very well the calculation, which is the solid line, with the following parameters. The two resonances are very close to each other, so it's difficult to know the crossing points. But when you subtract the mean value, you can see very well that the two lines cross at about 24 degrees. On the other hand, when you put a DC current in the top platinum, the top layer, which is close to the source, has a temperature rise which is about twice bigger than that of the bottom layer, and the current then at which the two systems cross is about a current of about 18 milliamp. So if you look closely, there are some small distortions in the blue line, which are due to magnon-phonon coupling. Although we use a single frequency, we see multiple phonon lines here, and this is because phonon frequency change with heating, and this is due to the fact that heat change the lattice density. So we know from the temperature increase and the ground velocity, the change that of phonon frequency is induced about 0.2 MHz per Kelvin. So we discussed first the temperature tuning measurement. So what is represented in dark scale is the spin pumping voltage, and it's this line. And what we represent with the blue line is the diode absorption, which represents the bottom layer. So this is the absorption of the top layer, and this is the absorption of the bottom layer, and they cross here. And we're going to look along this frequency line, this magenta line, what happens at the triple crossing point. As a reference, we are going to also observe what's going on along the cyan line. So these are measurements performed at different frequency. And what you can see very clearly is that the triple point, when you hit a triple crossing with odd photon line green, it becomes a bright state. And when you hit the triple crossing with even photon line, which is orange, it becomes a dark state. And you can clearly see here, through this magenta, this modulation, where you have here a bright state and here a dark state. So we see similar thing when you do angle tuning. So if you start at 5 degrees, where the two Kittel resonance of the bottom layer and the top layer are very detuned, what you see is that the intensity becomes weaker when the Kittel mode cross a phonon line. You can also see this in this frequency projection of the intensity. When you move to the degenerate zero tuning, where Kittel 1 and Kittel 2 are degenerate, okay, what you see is that the green line become a peak and the orange lines become a dip. Or if you want, you have a bright state here and a dark state here. Okay. What you can see is that the full here is represented the full angular dependence of this contrast, which shows this formation of bright and dark states. Also, what you can see is that the contrast inverts after the crossing, which is normal because you have acquired a phase shift of 180 degrees. Okay, it's also quite useful to define a contrast. Here, delta 2 is the contrast between phonon lines, and delta 1 is the contrast when you have shifted by a quarter wavelength. And when you plot this as the angular dependent, you see that delta 2 has a resonance shape-like feature, while delta 1 is like a 90-degree shifted dispersive shape. So our calculation can reproduce most of this feature using this triple couple equation. At zero detunity, what you can see is the formation of bright and dark states. Also the contrast invert at the crossing point. Finally, we can reproduce in this color plot, okay, exactly the same things that was represented in the data. So in conclusion, we demonstrate strong magnon-phonon coupling in magnetic garnets with cooperativity of 6. The observation of interference is a strong evidence that spins are currently transferred from one layer to the other via circular polarized acoustic phonon. We show the formation of tripartite entanglement states by detuning resonance. Bright and dark states appear respectively with odd and even phonon. Our work was about coherent spin transport, but this can be in principle extended to incoherent spin transport as well. And this will be this has been explored through a very theoretical paper of Rambert. And with that, I thank you.